haven't had a lot of community members use
Asking
Google
about,
Apps yet, so
yeah.
we're keen to hear if anybody is and out there using it. There's a lot of talk in the Office 365 sections of the community, but nothing yet in Google Apps. So keen to
So
hear if
again,
anybody
here
is
we've got,
using it and successes.
here we've got the demo site. So I strongly suggest you set it up. So I've broken it out here to have approvals, check-ins. I've broken out all the individual features so I can show people. I've broken out all the individual sub-sites. So for example, if I go into a project site, I can go in and give people a demo. So I think this is an important aspect. It's a bit of a pain to set up initially, but having data in there to be able to show people, I think, is a big bonus. And I would again recommend you do the same thing with Google Apps. So let me see if I can. Yep, I don't use LastPass in all cases. So this is the Google Apps. I suppose the Google Apps experience. So typically now we need to go into Drive. So Drive is, I suppose, where the files are shared. Again here, so this you can see, basically just files and folders. So this is the best you can do. You can't add columns. You can't do check-in and check-out, I don't believe. So again, it's basically just, you can obviously keep track of it, the activity. You can also do things like previous versions, but it's very much, in my opinion, like a traditional file and folder system, like on a file server network share. And I think that's what makes it very appealing to a lot of customers, and it's easy for them to migrate across, because if you go to SharePoint, SharePoint's a completely different kettle of fish. It's very intimidating. It's got a lot of options. How do you set it up? Whereas Google Drive, for example, is very much like the way they're doing stuff. Now, my experience is that this is a very good first step. They make that transition easily, but then when they actually start having to do collaboration, so work on a project, that's when they struggle and they look to do something like SharePoint. So anyway, that's my opinion. I mean, anybody else got an opinion on that? I certainly do use both products, but Office 365 more than the other, of course.
Yeah, we're the same. We choose to stick with Office 365 at the moment, just so that we know a lot about one product rather than knowing a little about both.
Yeah,
we do have one or two clients with Google Apps that we inherited, and they're still pretty easy to support and look after.
Yeah, I don't see a lot of Google Apps out there. I mean, especially larger businesses, like, I suppose over 5 users. I mean, my experience is there's not a lot of them because, I don't know, maybe it's a trust issue, maybe it's see, and a good example, and this is one of the examples I would put out, right? So let's go back to, let's turn off Drive. Okay, so so we go into SharePoint, for example. If I go back to my demo site, and what's the big advantage you sell SharePoint for? Because up here you can do a search. So when I do a search, this will search across all the properties that I have in SharePoint. So, and I can set it so it goes across all my sub-sites and gives me information, and you can, adjust this, and you can say I only want Word documents. So that's pretty powerful, that's pretty good search. Now, if we go to Google, how do I do a search here? So you would think you would go up to search, but if I go to search, it just takes me to normal Google, which if I put in CIA Ops again, I'm actually searching across Google, not across my data. So Google sort of seems to me to straddle public and private, whereas in Office 365 here, when we're working it, it's all private. Whereas here, for example, if I want to go to Google Plus or something, then it throws me out to the public Google Plus. And if I go to Files, where's my Drive? So I go to Drive. Okay, and it certainly has the ability to do a search. Now, if I do CIA Ops up here, but it's, again, see how it's searching just Drive? So it's a bit interesting that Google, being a search company, to me, with their Google Apps, don't have as nice a search experience as Office 365, but again, different models. This is, again, to me, more straddling or incorporating the public and the private, whereas SharePoint Online, Office 365, there's definitely a delineation between what's private in Office 365 and what's public in another browser. So the two don't meet. But in Google, they sort of mix them together, in my opinion. So that's another take from my side.
So, Robert, maybe show us a little bit more of the demo site that you've set up and maybe some of the areas that you've got in it?
Yeah, sure.
In the SharePoint one, if you don't mind.
No, it's fine. So I'll go demo. So let's go let's go back a level. So if I go up to sites, right? So what we can do in SharePoint, in the M's and the E's plans, not the P, we can have multiple SharePoint sites, okay? So I've got a test site, so that's where I can go in and I can destroy it and I can try different things and do workflows and basically screw it up and not have a major issue. I've then created a separate area called a demo. So what we do here is, can I duplicate this? No, so let me go here and just log in again so I get another screen. The way you do that basically is when you start with your Office 365, you get two sites on an M and an E, on all of them. You get a standard site and you get your public website. Now if you go into admin, go into SharePoint, what you'll see, this will take you to the SharePoint console, okay? And in here, now we get this ability to create additional site collections. So what we can do in here is go in and create new private site collection, and as you see, I've created one here called demo, and that ends up being this demo site. So that gives me some isolation. It allows me to potentially give access to external users. When I do that, I'll be sure that they won't cross over into any of the other sites that I've got there. So the first thing that I did basically was, if you scroll down here, you go into site contents, and then what you do is create a number of subsites. So what we'll do is you scroll down the bottom here, see how we've got subsite? Oops. So I created a new subsite, and then what I would do is I would create one subsite for each of these templates. So a team site, subsite, a blog, a project site, a community site, an enterprise site, a blah, 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 whatever you can. So that therefore you have all these subsites already created. So for example, if you create a community site, so this is a community subsite based on a template, this is the default look and feel, which you can obviously modify, but this is a very good site for obviously asking questions, getting answers. You can rate answers, you have members, you can award badges here, monitor their contributions. So again, that's a good example potentially, and again, out of the box that you can show customers. The other good one I recommend that resonates with a lot of clients is generally the project team site. So create a project subsite, go in and maybe create a mythical server upgrade or some project, and then you can do things like you can show the timeline, we can go into tasks and see what's due, you get red highlighting, so I can, for example, get this and drag it up to here, then I can go into this and I can change the text to be white, I can bold it, do all that sort of stuff. So that's generally a very good option. So again, all the team site, all the subsites across the top, and use it as a demo area. So, and then at the top area, you can see I've got a document library, but then I created a separate document library to help people understand approvals. So approvals are turned on and off here, and then I can just go click on this view, and now it'll change the groupings to give me an indication of what's been approved and what hasn't been approved. So the other good thing is once you develop this demo, you can develop the script that allows you to step through all of these and say the same consistent message. So it makes it a lot easier when you've got to show customers if you've got a pre-canned demo and a pre-canned script. So does that sort of answer?